Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Israel at War update webinar. I'm Jonathan Ruhe, JINSA's Director of Foreign Policy. I'm pleased, as always, to be joined today by General Yaakov Amidror, a JINSA Distinguished Fellow and Israel's former National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister. I'm also pleased to be joined by General Amikam Norkin, also a JINSA Distinguished Fellow and the former commander of the Israeli Air Forces. I've got two notes for our audiences today before we begin. First, I'd encourage everyone to visit JINSA.org to check out our two latest reports, one on Israel's unfolding war in the north against Hezbollah and the potential for a wider regional war, and a second paper on JINSA's proposal for a U.S.-Israel Mutual Defense Treaty. This is the latest paper in a series of reports that has been a key policy effort for JINSA in recent years. Second, as always, I would encourage our audience to type any questions you may have into the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen, and I will do my best to address them in the time we have today. General Amidror, I'd like to start with you, and we'll just sort of start at the highest possible level here. In the big picture, what would you say are the strategic goals of the current IDF operations against Hezbollah? I know we heard in recent weeks it's to enable the repopulation of the north, Israel's north. Is that still strictly the goal? What is the case right now?
Yes, I think that there are two goals in Lebanon, and they are different from each other, but they are going parallel. There is no contradiction between the two. The first one is relating to the what you just said, that our need and willingness to bring the civilians back to their homes in the north part of the Galilee. For that, we have to push Hezbollah a few kilometers to the north. The ideal range is 10 kilometers. I'm not sure that that can be arranged at the end, but a few kilometers to the north to achieve two important goals. One is that they cannot use direct hits on the buildings on the north. The Cornet, the anti-tank missiles that they are using, its maximum range is 10 kilometers. It's a new version of the Cornet. And we don't have any way to defend. We don't have trophy on every building in the north. We can put it in tanks, but not in every building building in the north. And we have to push them to the line, to the ridge from which they don't see, they don't have sight connection with the targets within the civilian communities.
Line of sight.
Line of sight. And line of sight here is critical because it is a direct hit. They cannot use it, but if they have line of sight to the buildings in the north. And for that, it depends very much on the geography and the topography on the area. In the north, for example, in the west side of the line, it's easy. Why? It's a very high area. If you control that, no one can look down into the Israeli side. Around Metula, it's much more problematic in the east side of the border. It's a long border. It's almost 80-kilometer border, and in the areas in which we have civilian settlements, we have to push Hezbollah. To push Hezbollah means to go meter by meter, to clean it from all the preparations that they did. They dug in, they brought huge amount. I think in average village in South Lebanon, there are more anti-tank missiles than in the whole Gaza Strip. And they prepared it for the 7th of October version of Hezbollah. It's huge caches of weapon, area to hide. It's so what the IDF is doing now is pushing, but very slowly, because to clean the area from all the infrastructure and the preparations that they did and the weapon system that they brought, it's very, very complicated, and we are doing it square meter by square meter. And it will take time. It will take time, but at the end, they will not have line of sight. they will be far enough not to surprise us in another version of 7th of October. And at the end will be a line, I don't know where the line will be. I think that the best line is the Litani itself, around Metula, when there is kind of a turn of the Litani to the north. Maybe we need even after the Litani, the line will not allow anyone to go down to the south without we knowing who is the guy. And it's going to be a very, very complicated issue because it will be no man's land inside Lebanon. The old security area that we had till 2006, we will have, not 2006, 2005, when Ehud Barak unilaterally retreated from.
Oh, 2000, yeah.
2000. When Ehud Barak, yes, I was still in the army, 2000. Ehud Barak retreated from, that will be the area in which, almost the whole area, in which we will not let anyone to go down without supervision of the IDF. How we will do it, what technically will be the arrangements, what will be the legitimacy, the international legitimacy. In a way, what we want to do in the south is the implementation of 1701, but not UNIFIL will enforce it, the IDF will enforce it, because UNIFIL is a bad joke. They didn't succeed to do even. We now found in the west side of the line, around the position of the United Nations, around and under all preparations of Hezbollah to launch the attack into Israel. It's one camera that they put as measurement of security for themselves was in one of the buildings of UNIFIL. So UNIFIL cannot do it, doesn't want to do it, doesn't have the abilities to do it. They're afraid from Hezbollah. So that will be enforced. The decision is the same decision, that Hezbollah will not be in the south, but the implementation will be done by the IDF. This is one goal. The other goal is not connected at all. Is about stripping all or most of the firepower of Hezbollah by very accurate attacks of the IDF, of the Air Force. Good intelligence, good collection, good pilots which are doing their job, and it is separate, totally separate from the first goal. It's an operation which opened the war. As you remember, in the first day or second day, we did a marvelous job in hitting some of these targets, based on the last 8 months during which we collected a lot of information, and we will continue it. We will continue to the effort to strip Hezbollah. Why? Because at the end of the war, we don't want to be again in the position in which Hezbollah is rebuilding its capabilities. And we want to be in a position in which we are continuing to hit Hezbollah whenever we find that Hezbollah is rebuilding its capability, or if we lost some information and we will expose an important facility of Hezbollah in the future. We did it in Syria during the last 12 years. General Norkin can give you numbers, but we did almost every week, at least once, we bombed an attempt by the Iranians either to build something in Syria or to move weapon systems from Syria into Lebanon. But we didn't touch Lebanon, only once. We didn't touch Lebanon. That was our strategic mistake. We don't want to do the same mistake again. And we want, after the war, to be in a position in which what we did in Syria since 2012, we will do in Lebanon. And from our point of view, Lebanon and Syria will be one area in which we don't let the Iranians to move weapon systems from the east to Lebanon. We don't let the Syrians to produce in Syria and to move it into the hands of Hezbollah. And when Hezbollah will try to build something in Lebanon, we will have the ability to hit it back without being deterred by Hezbollah. For not being deterred by Hezbollah, this is the ultimate goal at the end. We have to strip it from its majority of its firepower. It will take a long time, parallel to the time which is needed in South Lebanon to push Hezbollah to the north. So these are the two operations that we are doing. And at the end, if you ask strategic, what are the goals? That no one can hurt the civilian population of Israel in the north of Galilee, in direct heat, and they don't have line of sight, and they are far enough not to surprise us by 7th of October kind of attack. And Hezbollah as an organization cannot deter Israel from free action in Lebanon in the future.
So thank you, General Amidror. That was very thorough. And just a quick follow-on question before we go to General Norkin. You described sort of two parallel, or not necessarily directly intertwined goals right there. I've heard statements from Israeli and seemingly American officials in recent weeks that part of Israel's effective air campaign against Hezbollah is to convince them to agree to stop firing on Israel and agree to something like a viable, let's call it a post-war settlement, something that, diplomatically makes it possible for Israelis to return home in the north. Do you think that's misreporting, or that's just unrealistic?
I don't know. I think if such an agreement will be agreed by Israel, it will be a huge mistake. Because if we don't have the freedom to prevent the Iranians from rebuilding Hezbollah, we didn't make anything. We maybe achieved what is needed to bring the settlers, the civilians back to the north part of Israel, but we will not achieve it. The whole war does not have any meaning in the future if Hezbollah has the freedom to rebuild itself in the future. Mm-hmm. That was our mistake in the last 25 years. We let the monster to grow and to be a beast, and that should not be done again.
Thank you. And for our audience, in case you missed it, I would point out an article that appeared earlier this summer in Tablet by our CEO, Mike Makovsky, that talks about this last point as the hindsight of, as you say, General Amidror, letting Hezbollah grow into a beast over those many years. I recommend it to everyone to read. General Norkin, I'd like to pivot to you now. Maybe take a little more operational look at what's going on in Lebanon for now. We'll cover some other arenas in the time we have. I guess to begin with, how would you rate the effectiveness of the air campaign against Hezbollah? Obviously, we've seen some impressive, covert action attributed to Israel at this outset of this latest phase against Hezbollah. But how effective would you say the IAF has been at, let's say, General Amidror's second goal, removing Hezbollah's larger strategic capabilities and its ability to continue threatening Israel like it has?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity, as always. I think that General Amidror described a very precise, in very precise details, what our goals, let's say, at the operational tactical level. I think that there is another layer above it, which we might call the strategic level, what we might see in Lebanon in the future, in a year or in a few years. And this is something that we should talk about, but for now, let's put it on the side. Once we decide to act in Lebanon in a higher level, and since what happened to Hezbollah with the beeper systems, I think that the IDF, by the Air Force, achieved the strategic goals of this campaign. we already achieved them. So now the only one, the only part of this campaign that we should complete is to destroy all Hezbollah underground assets, infrastructure, tunnel, headquarters that they build near the border, and to take out from the villages all those missiles, anti-tank, rockets, and ammunition. And as Amidror mentioned, we cannot allow any line of sight threat. But at the higher level, we already complete all our, let's say, goals, because by few steps, from day to day, we killed all the headquarters, all the commanders, from Hezbollah top down, from Nasrallah top down, all of them. We destroy all the headquarters around, Hezbollah headquarters around Lebanon, not just in Beirut. We took out and we attack 2/3 from the Hezbollah rockets and missiles capabilities. So I think that those Air Force activities were amazing. Of course, until the last day of this war, the last hour of this war, they will keep shooting rockets. You cannot find and attack the last pipe or the last launcher, the last rocket. So this is part of such a campaign. When you are fighting a terror organization like Hezbollah with 100,000 rockets, they are still launching from every day between 100 and 200 rockets. And it's going to be like that until the end of this war. But I think at the strategic level, we already achieved our goals in less than 10 days in Lebanon. And once we are looking on both fronts, the south one in Gaza and the north one in Lebanon, we can describe a completely different wars. At the south in Gaza, the Air Force support the ground forces that maneuver from street to street, from neighborhood to neighborhood, and attack all the Hamas units day by day. In the North Front, in Lebanon, we managed an air campaign of 10 days, and we achieved our goals. And now we need to destroy Hezbollah capabilities near the border. I think it might take us another week or two. And then we should, let's say, organize the battlefield and the situation like Amidror mentioned, and to achieve between Lebanon and Israel or United States, France, the international community, kind of ceasefire, because we're already there. And we need to bring back our citizens. So this is the current situation, and the wars in the north and the south, they are completely different characters of wars.
So thank you, General Norkin. A quick follow-up. So you mentioned Hezbollah is still firing, hundreds of projectiles a day at Israel. In a bit, I want to cover the Binyamina attack in the last day, and the drone attack, and discuss that in particular. But more broadly, even though Hezbollah is firing hundreds of projectiles a day, are you surprised there hasn't been a stronger response given the effectiveness and intensity of Israeli operations against Hezbollah? Or is that precisely why they haven't had a stronger retaliation, is because their capabilities are getting knocked out, their command and control is being obliterated?
Yeah, it's one, and another one, another, and it's a layer of activities that the IDF already did. We took out the commanders, we took out the command and control system, we attacked the headquarters, we took out more than 1,500 warriors at the command level. So all those activities together affect Hezbollah, and because of that, they cannot act like we estimate that they might do in a war.
Mm-hmm. And just one follow-up before we move on to a different subject. I want specifically on the lethal Hezbollah drone attack on the IDF position, I believe Binyamina, yesterday, the drone attack that I believe killed 4 Israeli soldiers and injured dozens more. This isn't the first time we've seen challenges posed by Hezbollah's drones. Could you, to the extent you can, what can you share about some of the challenges that we saw in yesterday's attack?
Well, the drones capabilities, it's not a surprise for Israel, and we understood in the past that they are going to attack us with drones. This is the reason that we adopt a new technology for Iron Dome that can intercept drones and rockets together, and we practice the Air Force a lot. But there are few layers of challenges. First of all, the intelligence. If you got any intelligence about the drone route, where it's going to come from, when it's going to come, you can prepare yourself for the drone attack. So there is an intelligence layer. Second layer is to detect. You need a very unique technology at the radars to detect those very small drones. The wings are less than 2 meters. From time to time, they are from plastic and not from metal or from wood. So for the radars, it's a huge challenge to find them. Where are they? From time to time, they come from the east through Syria and then to the eastern border. From time to time, they fly over the Mediterranean from the west and then turn into the Israeli territory. Mm-hmm. So you need to cover all your borders with radars and sensors to detect those threats who are flying in a very low altitude, in a very low speed. Once the targets fly in a low speed, it's much harder to detect it by radar. The third layer is how you should intercept it. You can intercept it by Iron Dome. You can intercept it by electric warfare, EW. You can intercept it by F-16 or F-15, or Apache. Mm-hmm. So you need to have the right platform at the right time, at the right position to intercept it. In this specific case, we got no intelligence. We know that there are some drones. We detect them from time to time. We scramble. The F-16 and the F-15 intercept one of them. There were 2 drones. And then the radar lost the second one. And what happened is that the Air Force thought that maybe the second one fallen to the water in the Mediterranean. But unfortunately, the drone kept flying, low altitude, low speed, turn east from the Mediterranean, penetrate to the north part of Israel, to the area of Binyamina, and attack this dining room of the young soldier, and we lost 4 of our soldiers. So the drones and the rockets and the missiles, they are the only cards that Hezbollah or any other enemy, even the Iranian, the ballistic missile, the cruise missiles, Those are the cards that they are playing with. And we need to be able to defend ourselves with our systems and platforms.
Thank you, General Norkin. I want to turn to Iran in the second half here of our webinar. But before I do, both of you, both General Amidror and General Norkin, alluded to sort of a larger strategic picture with Lebanon. What's the ultimate end state, or what do we hope comes next? General Amidror, I'll ask this question to you. It's from our audience, and General Norkin, if you'd like to add anything afterwards, please do. Is there any possibility of an actual Lebanese government taking power and restoring sovereignty when Hezbollah has been weakened? I know it's $1 million question, but we'd love to get your thoughts, General Amidror, first.
It's $1 million question, but the answer is very easy. In the present situation, there is no one in Lebanon will take the risk to act against Hamas or to be seen by Hamas, by Hezbollah, sorry,
Yeah.
or to be seen by Hezbollah as one who is ready to negotiate about Hezbollah. The Lebanese learned the lesson. Everyone who tried to do it lost his life. So in Lebanon, the chance that the Lebanese, look, let's say the truth. I know that Americans are giving a lot of money to Lebanon for the army, and now they're convinced Qatar to finance some of the needs of the Lebanese army. Why? Theoretically, Lebanon is a sovereign state with the military forces. But this is only a theoretical situation. In practice, Lebanon is not a state. Lebanon is only a constitution. The state is not run by Hezbollah, but nothing can be done against the will of Hezbollah.
Mm-hmm.
About garbage in Beirut, Hezbollah doesn't care. So everyone can do whatever he wants. About the quality of the water in the pipelines, Hezbollah doesn't care. So everyone can do what he wants. About things which are important to Hezbollah, no one is doing anything against the will of Hezbollah. So theoretically, yes, the government can make decisions, and so probably America and France will back it and will give money and so on and so forth. But this is only theoretical. In practice, there is no government that can allow itself, from security point of view, they're afraid to act against the will of Hezbollah.
General Norkin, is there anything you wanted to add on this question?
Well, since the last 3 months, 500,000 of citizens, Lebanon citizens, left Lebanon and moved to Syria.
Probably double of this number.
Yes, so
this is the number of Syrians, but it's Syrians and Lebanese.
Yeah, so let's take Amidror number, 1 million. We never imagined that such a number they will Lebanon in a very short period of time. So I think that the answer is that we cannot estimate. The chance for a change is very, very, very low, but we should act for it. I think that maybe because of other activities, not just inside Lebanon, and not in a short time, we might see some changes, and we need to act for them. We should ask ourselves, what is the best scenario for Israel? What is the best scenario for the West international community, for United States, Europe, for the Lebanon citizens? What is the best scenario? And we should act for it. And I think that Amidror is right. The chance is very, very low, but today it's the highest since the last 30 years.
Yeah, I thank you.
I think that the numbers that I know, I'm sure that none of them is accurate, that around 300,000 Lebanese moved to Syria, and you have to add to that around 250,000 Syrians, which came to Lebanon from Syria in the last few years because of the war in Syria, and they went back to Syria, and another 600,000 Lebanese went from the south to the north. But this is only the beginning, because the more we are advancing to the north, the more are the Lebanese which are going towards, which are moving towards Beirut. And the Lebanese government cannot do, as you know, cannot do anything to help them. They don't have the capabilities. You know, ironically, if you want to compare Gaza to Lebanon, before the war, in Gaza there were probably more hours of electricity than in Beirut. In premises in Gaza, there were more medicine than in Beirut. Lebanon is a destroyed country. The Hezbollah succeeded to bring
the economics.
Hezbollah succeeded to make Lebanon a country which lost its present and future. So the efforts of the Americans and the dreams of many Israelis that the government of Lebanon, if there is something like that, will do something against Hezbollah. I mean, we should say that this is what is the best for Lebanon, but the chances that will happen, I'm very pessimistic.
So hopefully we can find maybe something that's cause for a little more optimism here in the second half. I want to pivot and talk about Israel's expected response against Iran. General Amidror, I'll just sort of put it bluntly. Are you surprised that it's been now almost 2 weeks and there's been no Israeli response yet?
No, why to run to that? We have to prepare it. We have to make sure that we have the Americans understand what we are going to do, even if they don't agree. But they will not be surprised, because with war in Iran is another story. Iran is there, the targets are there. Why should we rush? I don't see any reason. It should be done in the way that it is done. More discussions inside Israel, more cooperation with the Americans. Maybe another battery of TAD will arrive as well. This is very important. But I don't see any reason to rush to the reaction. What more important is that we'll be well prepared, and whatever will be attacked by Israel should be totally destroyed. All the other issues are technical and not important. Not the schedule, not which exactly the targets will be. I don't know. Probably no one knows, because they didn't make the decision yet. And at the end, it's not the most important one. The most important is that it will be destroyed. So all those which will be picked by the decision makers should be destroyed totally. No one will ever question what the Israelis did here. It will be clear from everyone will come to the side. And if some of them can be around Tehran, the better.
I guess let me just ask you basically that same question in a slightly different way. You mentioned obviously the importance of American support. Are you surprised by how sort of public the debate about Israel's response has been? At least, here you read the American newspapers, you get a U.S. government official every day providing a new leak about what Israel might hit, when they might do it, how they might do it. Seems to be rather telegraphed.
I hope that you are keeping your secrets better than that.
Do you think this is this is sort of the price of securing American support, is the Americans get to litigate this in public?
I don't know if it's a price for support. It's a price for telling the Americans what are our purposes and plans.
So General Norkin, I'll again ask you the more operational side of the question I just asked General Amidror. So by my count, at least here in American press, we've heard a range of possible targets in Iran, nuclear sites, energy sites, military sites. intelligence and then potentially IRGC officials. Given your background as an Israeli Air Force commander, do you have any? Obviously, this is a public forum. We can't talk about sensitive things, but how much of the IAF has been absorbed in Lebanon operations? What is their state of readiness? Is that a factor in this discussion, or is it more like what I was asking General Amidror, which is part of this is a first and foremost a political negotiation?
Well, first of all, I think that Lebanon got no effect, and it's not a parameter once you are planning your operation in Iran. Second, you mentioned the whole restaurant menu. All the targets, all those families of targets, they are part of the menu, but you should, as Amidror mentioned, you should choose the right dish, and if you're going to choose it, you should destroy it. And by that, the Iranian should understand what are the Israeli capabilities. About the THAAD, I think it's a very important step. As you all know, we practice and we did a lot of exercise on that plan, at least for almost 24 years. Every 2 years there is an exercise. American and Israeli soldiers practiced shoulder to shoulder those activities, and now I think that once the American system is going to be here, it's going to project power and it's going to be part of the regional defense program. So the Air Force is in those days present and brief the political level, the war cabinet, what are the options and what are the capabilities. And once the cabinet will decide, I think that Israel is going to act.
So General Norkin, a follow-up question, more of a technical one. With a THAAD air defense system that's land-based deployed in Israel, does that offer particular advantages over some of the sea-based systems we've seen the U.S. use to help defend against Iran's recent attacks? We've seen U.S. Navy ships in the offshore do some of the, help Israel with the interception in both in October and then previously in April with Iran's first attack. Is a THAAD offer a particular different set of capabilities, or is this is the U.S. just trying to surge more overall capability into the theater?
I think it's part of the let's say the spectrum of the capabilities. The Arrow supposed to be able to intercept all the Iranian threat, but it's important that the American systems are here, and we are going to do it together. And I think that the cooperation itself, it's very important. We develop the Arrow system together. We support, nations support each other by technology, by method of action. And once our soldiers are going to sit side by side and take decisions, I think it's a very important step. But they are still, let's say, it's the same level of technology.
Thank you. General Amidror, a related question for you. As you said, when there is action against Iran, it should be done in such a way that it's effective and that Iran is in no doubt about what was intended. Presumably that would entail then Iran retaliating. Given that Hezbollah is on the ropes, down but not out, and given that Iran has launched 2 massive strikes that have, certainly impacted Israel but have caused minimal damage, what's Israel's concern about, when there's a strike, what's Israel's concern about the going up the escalation ladder with Iran, or is that an overstatement of the situation?
I think, first of all, it's very important to understand that from the Iranian point of view, the fact that they had to launch directly into Israel is a failure of their strategy. The strategy was to build the proxies capabilities, kind of a ring of fire, as I called it in 2018, and to let the ring of fire to put the pressure on Israel and to make Israel crumble in. The idea was we, the Iranians, will stay away, 1,500 kilometers away from Israel. The proxies, which are strong enough, with our support, will do what is needed to destroy Israel. They lost Hamas. Hamas is not relevant as a threat to Israel. They can kill soldiers in Gaza Strip and to kill, and they kill more people of Gaza themselves. But for Israel, it's not a threat anymore. No other question. Okay, what will be the reaction of Hamas for the annihilation of Nasrallah? It's not relevant. What the Air Force did to Hezbollah in the first week of the war will be learned in the future by historians of wars. We succeeded to hit them so strongly, annihilating all their command and control system last weekend, to kill all their other leadership, all my old friends from the time that I was the Northern Command, the intelligence officer, cannot answer my phone. They don't exist. All of them. There was one which remained, Talal Khamia, and someone told me that another one, which is, I thought that he is out of the system, might come back, Khalil Harb. If they will come back, it means that Hezbollah is in a big, huge problem. One of them was more involved in the last few years in exporting drugs than fighting Israel. So Iran lost part of its ability to implement the strategy. And they forced by the situation to take direct steps against Israel. And that exposed Iran. And the Iranians do not want the situation in which they had been exposed. Now we have to make something which will make the Iranians understand that the price is very high, but at the same time, will not force them to escalate to a full war, because we want to finish the elimination of Hezbollah first. This is our priority. Now, after finishing the dismantling of Hamas military system, now what we want to do is to destroy and to eliminate the military capabilities, or most of the military capabilities of Hezbollah. We cannot do to Hezbollah what we did to Hamas. It's too big on us. But we can do much more, for sure, in South Lebanon, or probably not just in South Lebanon. And only then Israel will be ready for a full war with Iran. So our interest now is to ease the tension, to retaliate, so the Iranians will have to recalculate their actions, and because they understand that the price is high, but at the same time not push them to the level in which they will escalate to a full war, in which they don't have any secret in their sleeves. What they did in April and October, it's what they have. Mm-hmm. But they can do it with huge numbers. Iran's industry is huge, and they can produce many missiles and drones and so on and so forth. So it may be big numbers, but it will be more of the same, and nothing, I believe, nothing is a real game changer.
Okay.
And this is why, by the way, the American battery is so important, because if they launch huge number of missiles, here there is only one issue which is important: how many interceptors you can launch at the same time. And here the battery is very important. The American battery is very important.
Thank you. That's I think it's been very helpful in clarifying a lot of the.
So yes, it's versus more of the same of the Iranians,
Mhm.
What we need is more of the same of Aero, and the American and additional capability is something like that. It's not a game changer. It's more of the same.
Becomes a numbers game.
Yeah, becomes
so
a
I-
numbers game. Exactly.
So, General Amidror, just one quick final question, and I'll dismiss class a little early because I know it's late in Israel. I want a quick question about Gaza. We've heard reports about, a plan for northern Gaza. Plan might be an overstatement, which is basically to try to force the evacuation of northern Gaza, moving civilians to southern Gaza to receive aid, and whoever's left in northern Gaza will be considered an enemy combatant. What are your thoughts? Is that an accurate portrayal of what the plan is? Is there a plan for northern Gaza right now?
I was asked by the planners at the beginning to join them, giving my name to and I told them that I'm not signing in groups. If I have something, I'm saying it personally, not within a group. But more important, I said, I think it will be very hard to implement. If that can be implemented, it's a good idea. But the if is the most important word in this sentence. If it can be implemented, it's a very good plan. And because I have many hesitation about the if it's, as far as I understand, up till now, it was not implemented. And in the future, maybe someone will take it into consideration and might think about it. Up till now, we didn't. And I have a big if at the beginning of the sentence.
In the last few hours, Jonathan, the Israeli Minister of Defense declared that there is no plan like that.
Okay.
Okay, this is the answer.
So I guess that would suggest then, General Amidror, your use of the word if is because there would be pressure on Israel not to try to implement such a plan.
It's not just that. At the end, Israel is too sensitive as a state to issues of civilians. We are taking care to Palestinian civilians more than probably almost all the other democratic military systems around the world in their war against terrorism. I heard it from British officers. I heard it from American officers. It's in our traditional culture. We are very sensitive to the issue of civilians. So to take civilians is to push them after they don't. We let them in the past to do it. They stayed in North Gaza because they don't want to leave, and then if they don't move, they will be part of the starving element. It's non-Israeli.
Yeah, my attempt to summarize the plan in my question, I think gets at part of the problem here, at least for American audiences, is the word starvation is used to describe the plan. So if nothing else, it's a public relations problem. But
it's not just a public. In Israel, it's not just a public relation issue.
I meant
In
here,
Israel, it's against the character of the people who are running the army. At the end, remember that 2/3 of the army are reserve forces. It's people which are civilians. They are not part of it will not work in Israel.
And for those interested in more greater detail about what General Amidror has just been discussing, I would point everyone to our report from May this year, assessing IDF operations in Gaza and noting with a lot of detail their adherence to international law in those operations. I want to thank, as always, Generals Amidror and Norkin for their time today or late tonight in Israel. Thank you all to our audience for tuning in yet again.
Thank you very much.
Everyone stay safe.
Yes, stay safe and Chag Sameach.
Stay safe, and thank you again, and we'll see you soon on the JINSA webinar.
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays to all who celebrate. Thank you.
Bye-bye.